All right, so today we're going to dive into something that I'm sure a lot of you are thinking about, especially if you're either already driving an electric vehicle or thinking about taking the plunge.
Definitely.
We've got a whole bunch of info here about this company called Be Charged, and they've got this kind of new approach to EV charging that's pretty intriguing.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Our mission today is really to figure out what this service is all about, what they're offering, and, most importantly, how it could actually make a difference for EV owners like you.
Exactly. And I think, it's really fascinating to see all this buzz around EVs right now. I mean, sales just keep skyrocketing. They're up over 40% from last year, and they're saying that by next year, a quarter of all new car sales could be electric.
Yeah, it's crazy,
It
right?
really is. We're seeing like a huge shift in the auto industry.
Yeah, we are. But, even with all that excitement and all that momentum, I think there's still that little bit of hesitation for a lot of people, that range anxiety.
Oh, for sure.
You're seeing more charging stations popping up everywhere. The Department of Energy says there's over 50,000 of them now, which sounds like a lot, but,
Yeah.
they're not always in the most convenient spots, especially if you're going off the beaten path or you're on a road trip.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Especially if you're heading out to like rural areas or on those stretches of highway where there's not a lot around.
Yeah. Right, exactly. It's like charging deserts out there sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Charging deserts. That's a good way to put it.
And that's where this company Be Charge comes in. They're saying they're building America's first comprehensive nationwide emergency mobile EV charging network. So it's like having a backup tank of electricity on demand when you need it.
I like that analogy. It's like having a reserve tank
Right.
just in case you run out.
And they're doing this all for a $99 annual subscription, which is pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty affordable,
Hmm.
especially when you think about the peace of mind it could offer.
So let's say you're out on the road, maybe a little further than you planned, and that battery warning light starts flashing. What happens? How does Be Charged actually work?
Well, from what I've gathered, it seems pretty straightforward. First, you sign up for that $99 annual membership on their website, bechargedev.com.
Okay.
And then, if you find yourself running low on battery, you contact them. It's either through a 247 hotline or their mobile app.
So you're on the side of the road, phone in hand. What happens next?
Well, that's when their rapid response system kicks in. They use their nationwide network to find the closest mobile charging provider to you.
Gotcha. So these aren't just like regular roadside assistance people. They're specifically trained and equipped for EVs.
Exactly. They come with all the gear to charge up all the major EV models out there.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Now, the idea isn't to fully charge you up right there on the spot.
Yeah.
They'll give you enough juice to reach the nearest charging station, so like 20 to 30 miles worth.
That makes sense. Just enough to get you out of trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Just enough to get you back on track.
So you mentioned compatibility with all the major EV models. Which ones are we talking about specifically?
Well, they've got a pretty extensive list. It includes Tesla, Nissan Leaf, Chevrolet, Bolt, Ford Mustang, Mach-E Hyundai, Ioniq Kia, EV6, you name it.
Wow. So they really cover the whole spectrum.
Yeah, they do. And it's not just the car models themselves. It's also the different charging connectors they support. J1772, CCS, CHAdeMO. Even the Tesla connector.
So no matter what kind of EV you're driving, they've got you covered.
Pretty much. Yeah, it seems like they've really thought about the whole ecosystem.
So for those of you listening, why would you want to sign up for this Be Charged membership? What are the real benefits?
Well, for me, the biggest one is that nationwide coverage. It's not just limited to certain areas. They operate in all 50 states.
Yeah, that is huge, especially if you like to do road trips or you're traveling a lot.
Exactly. You've got that peace of mind knowing you're covered wherever you go.
Right. And what about the cost? That $99 annual fee, how does that stack up against other options?
It's actually pretty reasonable when you consider that it's often less than what you'd pay for a single tow truck.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's true. Towing can be super expensive.
Yeah, it can be a real pain. So from a financial perspective, it makes a lot of sense.
And what about the response time? How long do you have to wait for help to arrive?
They're saying they can get to you in under 45 minutes in most urban and suburban areas, which is pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's way faster than a lot of tow companies.
For sure. And they're able to do that because of their network of providers all across the country.
So it's really about that peace of mind, knowing that help is just a phone call away.
Absolutely. And the fact that they're compatible with so many different EVs and connectors means you don't have to worry about whether they can actually help you.
Right, and they're available 24/7, 365 days a year.
Yep. No matter when you have a problem, they'll be there.
So let's talk about some real-world scenarios. When would having Be Charged really come in handy?
Well, think about those times when your range estimations might be off. Maybe you hit some bad weather or you get stuck in traffic and your battery drains faster than expected.
Yeah, that's happened to me before.
Or maybe you're driving through the mountains and the elevation changes really hit your battery hard.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah, those are all situations where Be Charged could really save the day.
And what about when there's a problem with the charging station itself? They're not always reliable.
That's right. Sometimes you get to a station and it's out of order or it's not working properly,
Yeah.
and that's when Be Charged can be a lifesaver.
It's like having a backup plan for your backup plan.
Exactly. And sometimes navigation systems can be a little outdated,
Hmm.
so you might end up at a charging location that's no longer there or it's inaccessible for some reason.
That's super frustrating.
It is. And again, that's when Be Charged can really come in clutch.
We've also seen a lot of extreme weather events lately. How does that factor in?
Well, power outages caused by storms or other disasters can knock out charging stations for hours or even days.
Oh, yeah, that's a scary thought.
It is, and that's where a mobile charging service like Be Charged becomes even more valuable.
Especially if you're in an area where there aren't a lot of charging options to begin with.
Exactly, and for people who like to explore off the beaten path or go on adventures in remote areas, having that safety net of Be Charged could really open up a lot of possibilities.
Absolutely. So let's compare Be Charged to some of the other options you might consider if you're stranded with a dead EV battery.
Sure. So you've got traditional towing, which is usually the most expensive option, and it can take a long time for the tow truck to arrive. Plus, there's always a risk of damage to your car during the towing process.
Yeah, those are all good points.
Then you have portable battery packs, which can be a good option if you have one on hand, but they can be pretty pricey,
Yeah.
and they don't always provide a lot of charge.
Right, it's like a temporary fix.
Yeah, exactly. And then there are traditional roadside assistance plans, which might be cheaper than Be Charged, but their response times can be longer, and they might not have as much experience with EVs.
So when you look at all those options, Be Charged seems to hit a sweet spot in terms of cost response time and convenience.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. They're really catering to the specific needs of EV owners.
But we've been talking about what Be Charged claims to do. Let's hear from some actual customers. What are their experiences been like?
Well, we've got a couple of testimonials here that give us some real-world insights.
Great, let's hear them.
So first up, we have Michael T. He's got a Tesla Model 3 and lives out in rural Nevada. He was driving, and his battery got really low, and there were no charging stations around. So he called Be Charged, and they got a technician out to him in 40 minutes, gave him enough charge to reach the nearest Tesla supercharger. He says that his $99 membership saved him from a tow that would have cost over $350.
Wow, that's a pretty significant saving.
Yeah, it is, and it shows that they can actually deliver on their promise, even in remote areas.
That's really reassuring.
Then we have Sarah Kay. She drives a Nissan Leaf in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
She misjudged her range on a cold day and ended up with a dead battery in a parking lot. She said Be Charged was super responsive and got her back on the road in under an hour. She was really happy with the peace of mind that the membership gave her.
Yeah, those testimonials definitely make it feel more real and relatable.
I agree. It's always good to hear from people who have actually used the service.
So what's the technology behind all of this? How does Be Charged make it all happen?
Well, they're using some pretty cool mobile charging techs. They've got these level 2 plus mobile chargers that can deliver between 7 and 22 kilowatts of power.
So it's not as fast as a supercharger, but it's way faster than plugging into a regular outlet.
Exactly. It's enough to get you a decent amount of range in a short amount of time.
And a lot of the response vehicles have these high-capacity battery buffer systems, which means they don't even need to be plugged into the grid to give you that initial charge.
Yeah, it's like having a giant power bank on wheels.
That's a great way to put it. So they're really mobile and can get to you quickly.
Exactly. And they also use these smart charging algorithms that optimize the charging process based on your battery's condition, the temperature, and your car's specific charging requirements.
Wow. So it's all very high-tech.
It is. And they've also got all the different connector types covered, so they can pretty much charge up any EV on the road.
Makes sense. And their dispatch system uses GPS to find the closest technician to your location so they can get to you as fast as possible.
Yeah, they've really thought of everything.
So looking ahead, what's next for Be Charged and for the future of mobile EV charging?
Well, they've got some big plans. They want to expand their network even further so they can get response times down to under 30 minutes nationwide.
Wow, that's ambitious.
It is. And they're also working on developing mobile units with DC fast charging capabilities so you can get back on the road even faster.
Now that would be a game changer.
For sure. They're also looking into using AI and predictive analytics to anticipate where EV battery depletion is most likely to occur.
So they can be proactive and have technicians in the right place at the right time.
Exactly. And they're also thinking about expanding internationally into Canada, the UK, and other markets.
So they're really looking at the big picture.
They are. And they're even talking about partnering with EV manufacturers to integrate their services directly into the cars themselves.
Wow, so the future of mobile EV charging is looking pretty exciting.
It is. There's a lot of innovation happening in this space.
So let's recap for everyone listening. Be Charged is this nationwide mobile EV charging service that aims to eliminate range anxiety and provide a safety net for EV owners all across the country.
That's right. And it's all for a $99 annual membership fee, so you can drive with peace of mind, knowing that help is always available.
And if you're interested in learning more, you can visit their website, bechargedev.com, to check out their membership options. And if you're in the automotive service industry and you're thinking about joining their provider network, you can contact them through their website as well.
It's a great way to be part of the EV revolution and help make electric driving more accessible and convenient for everyone.
And on that note, here's a final thought for you to ponder with solutions like Be Charged becoming more widespread. How might this accelerate the adoption of electric vehicles even further? Could it change how we think about transportation and our reliance on gas-powered cars? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us on the Deep Dive today.
Thanks for having me. It was a great discussion.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure.
Until next time.
Take care.
You too.
Bye.